Hi, and welcome to another video in my series on pre-law preparation. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the college experience and how to make the most out of it. Now, chances are you're probably coming to this video later in your college experience. Maybe you're a junior and senior, and you're starting to really think about all the nuts and bolts of preparing for law school. All the stuff that I'm going to say in this video is applicable to everyone, but ideally some of these considerations are ones that you would have early on in the ballgame. So you may have to adjust accordingly depending on how much time you have left before you graduate. But these are my 7 considerations you want to keep in the back of your brain as you go throughout the college experience. The first one is to choose the right major for you. Oftentimes students will ask, what's the best major I can do to get into a good law school? And sometimes students fall prey to the idea that there's only one set route to go to law school. In reality, it can be anything. Your major can fall into any category. People are accepted to law schools all the time from a variety of majors, especially those law schools that are more generalized. Now, the one exception to this is if you're looking to go into intellectual property. If you want to do anything related to things like patents or IP related things, those fields are more towards the hard sciences. If you're doing things like engineering or physics, or you've had some training in chemistry, all those hard science backgrounds are very helpful in intellectual property, mostly because there's a separate bar for IP attorneys. There's the regular general bar that everybody has to take after graduation before you get a license. But then patent attorneys and copyright attorneys have to go through this additional bar, and a lot of it is more technical. So some training in more hard sciences is helpful for that. So if you know that's where you want to go now, it's a good idea to major in one of those fields. But for everybody else, it can be basically any major. Your major can be the thing that is unique to you, and in a lot of cases, your major might be the thing that motivates you to go to law school. I would recommend that you choose a major that you're excited about, the one that gets you out of bed every morning, a subject that you're really passionate about. And the reason for that is, as I explained in my GPA video, you really want to get the best GPA that you can. You obviously want good grades in college. That will help strengthen your law school application. And you're more likely to get good grades in the classes that you're excited about. Those GE classes that you might take are ones that you might see as a little bit of drudgery and filling some university requirements. And sometimes those are the ones that don't really give us the excitement to show up at class and do the homework. So I would definitely recommend finding something that you are excited about, especially because it will keep you excited about the college experience and will help you prepare for law school. Now, sometimes students think that you have to major in pre-law or in legal studies, that if your university offers that major, as CSUMB does, where I'm teaching currently, then you might think, well, I have to go that route. There's only one way, and that's the way that's going to best prepare me for law school. In reality, those classes might give you a leg up in terms of your preparation for classwork in law school, or maybe it might teach you some tips as to how to think like a lawyer. But you can get those experiences, those skills from any other major too. You don't have to go the pre-law route. Especially because when I'm talking about class choices, tip number 2 is taking the classes that help you with critical thinking. Now, these could come in a variety of majors. If you're looking for classes that you think will strengthen your skill set for law school, take the ones that will help you think like a critic, help you to poke holes in arguments. Obviously, if the title has something like critical in it, that can be very helpful. But if there are classes on philosophy or logic or literary criticism or science classes that ask you to poke holes in arguments and to debunk ways of thinking, all of that is really helpful. You can also take rhetoric classes that will help you structure good arguments and to be able to be persuasive to other people. Those are some real skills that will actually help you in law school. If you can take classes that do that sort of thing, it can help you in terms of your future argumentation as a lawyer, and it can help you understand how cases work, especially if lawyers are trying to persuade judges. The other great thing about this too is it will help you with the LSAT. As I explained in my LSAT video, the big part of the LSAT is thinking logically, being able to deconstruct an argument and to find where its flaws are in order to respond to it. So if you can take those critical thinking classes that will strengthen your logical thinking, that's going to be real money in the bank for you later on when you're actually going to law school. Now, tip number 3 is a little bit similar to this. A consideration you're going to want to have is you want your writing skills to be impeccable by the time you go to law school. You want to have a really clear understanding of grammar, of punctuation, of usage. You don't want to make technical mistakes, and you want to be able to construct complex sentences that an audience can follow. And again, rhetoric classes will help you with this, but all of your composition classes that you have to take as a freshman or a sophomore, and all of those writing classes that you might have to take for your major, those are going to be really helpful for you later on. Not just because it will make you a better writer in the long run, but it will also help you read better. By taking those really difficult writing classes, you'll understand how sentences and paragraphs are constructed, and that'll help you in terms of your reading comprehension, especially when it gets down to reading really complex cases. Justices and lawyers tend to talk with a lot of legalese, and they make a lot of hard, complex arguments. And so knowing how they write will help you also understand how to read those things. So I would seek out those opportunities to strengthen your writing. It doesn't even have to be in a specific course. If you know of workshops or writing centers or tutors that you can get on campus, really looking for ways to improve your writing is going to be really invaluable. Another thing that you want to consider in terms of tip number 4, I guess is the one that we're on, you want to take the right math classes. I think everybody has to take math classes in their university experience at some point, and oftentimes if you're not a math major, there's a lot of options that you might take to be able to fill that. I would recommend that you choose the math classes that emphasize things like statistics and probability, understanding data and numbers, as opposed to just the traditional algebra or calculus classes. The reason why I suggest that is because lawyers, we just don't do math. We have other people do the math for us, accountants and actuaries that do that sort of thing. Again, if you're an IP attorney, then it might be a little bit different. You might want to understand higher level math like calculus, but by the time you're a practicing lawyer, you're really not crunching the numbers as much as you might think. What you might be more likely to use, though, is explaining things like surveys, interpreting data, understanding probability, and making good arguments on the basis of statistics. That kind of stuff really does add value. So if you have the option, I highly recommend you take some kind of a statistics or a data specialization course. Those are going to be really helpful for you. The other reason why that can be very helpful is being able to interpret that kind of data is tied back to that critical thinking. Oftentimes we use data to make arguments. We use data to support the things that we're trying to give. It's often an evidentiary thing. And so being able to understand the math and understand the theory behind those statistics will help you become a better and more persuasive person. So using those in tandem with your critical thinking courses is going to be really helpful for you. Another thing you want to think about, tip number 5, is to spread your classes out appropriately. Sometimes students feel like I got to get done as fast as possible. If I graduate earlier, maybe it'll be better for me in the long run. I recommend using that full 4 years and to really pad your classes out in the right way. You want to be able to think strategically about where your hard classes are going to be and where your easy classes are. I highly recommend that in terms of your energy level throughout college, that it be about a flat plane. You don't want to feel like you have those high peak semesters and then those easy semesters, because you can get burned out really, really fast. College is more of a marathon as opposed to a sprint, and so you want to keep your energy level at a pretty steady beat. The other reason why this is important is because, once again, you care about your GPA. And so being able to choose classes at the right time to get the best grades possible it's going to be really helpful for you. Taking a lot of hard courses or taking massive amounts of credits, that could be a recipe for disaster when it comes to your GPA. So taking those 12 credits each semester, following that along at a pretty steady clip, that's the right way to go about doing this. And for that reason, you should probably look very carefully at the university catalog, look at the requirements for your major, and be sure to talk to your advisor, your major advisors, that they can really help you structure a good schedule that will follow a nice, easy rhythm. Number 6, in terms of thinking about how to make the college experience work really well for you, I highly recommend you work with your pre-law advisor. Here at CSUMB, we do have a pre-law advisor. If your campus doesn't have one of these, there's probably some professor on campus who does pre-law related things. I definitely recommend that you get with this person. There's a couple reasons for it. Number 1, you get that kind of individualized feedback. If you work with your pre-law advisor on a regular basis, they're going to know more about you, more about your background, and help you kind of tailor your experience. The other thing that this does is it helps kind of dumb down or reduce the temperature of your own anxiety. Part of getting ready for law school is really thinking about all these complex nuts and bolts that are going to go into your application, choosing the right law school. And if you go on that alone, if you feel like you're having to make that decision for yourself, you're going to probably find yourself getting really anxious and really stressed out about it. You don't have to fight this battle alone. Your university probably has resources for it, and so trying to tap into those, trying to reach out to your pre-law advisor, that's going to be really helpful for you. And those people have worked with many students over the years, so they've seen all sorts of questions, and chances are the question you have is one that many students have. So definitely work with the person who knows about these things. And then last of all, tip number 7 is you want some extracurricular activities, but I really am emphasizing some. You don't want to overload yourself. Once again, the things that really matter for your application are your LSAT score and your GPA, with some emphasis on your personal statement at the margins. You really want to concentrate on your schoolwork when you're in college. You want to make sure that you're getting the good grades. You want to make sure that you're getting the right kind of classes, and you want to make sure that you're getting the kind of skill set you need to be successful. Extracurricular activities can sometimes detract away from that. Now, I'm not saying you can't have hobbies and you can't have fun in college. That's not what I'm suggesting at all. You need to be able to take that break, certainly. But sometimes students think that the more extracurricular activities they have, the more internships, the more work experience they have, that somehow that's going to make them a better candidate for law school. And maybe if your lived experiences look more like you have some diverse views, that might help. But there's no one right way to go about doing this. Just because you have tons of extracurricular activities doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be more likely to get into law school. So find the ones that are best for you. Find the ones that are going to give you opportunities to work outside of college. Look for ways to work at local law firms or for legal aid societies. Look for internships that perhaps give you a window into how the real world works. Look for activities on campus that will help you with your logic or your critical thinking. Look for ways to do some service to other people. Be able to show that you're actually a caring and ethical person. Those would be useful things that you can do in terms of extracurriculars. But as far as overloading yourself with lots of activities, I highly recommend that you don't go this route. Well, hopefully those 7 tips will be actually helpful for you. If you have questions, you can always reach out to me, of course. But happy going through college. Really enjoy this experience and make sure you're maximizing all of those stages. See you next time.